Do I need to like hold your hand up? Yeah. Thank you. Welcome back from your enjoyable lunch. I hope. I know the food was delicious, and I hope you had a good time collaborating with your team members. The first thing that I want to just double check, make sure that you noticed, is that we were able to get a new Wi-Fi port here. So the SOE for School Ed is what you choose, and the password is SOE School Ed. And then today, 05/11/17, with an exclamation mark because you are really excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
I know. This is, I added this slide to the presentation, so it's just going to live there. So if you forget what the password is, we can pull it back up. It's here. Okay, so that was lunch. All right, so we're going to start this afternoon by talking some more about teacher leadership and leading teachers. I'm going to just start with something that you might not have thought about yourself as leaders of teachers. And that is that the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standards require teacher leadership. And if we look at the standards, we see that standard 1, teachers demonstrate leadership. Like it's the first standard. Now, teachers don't always understand or know what that means. And so, of course, we have the descriptors to help them. And part of our job as leaders of teachers is to help teachers learn what it means to lead at a school, in a classroom, in a grade level. So, looking at a couple of different things, teachers demonstrate leadership in the school, teachers lead in the teaching profession, teachers advocate for schools and students, still part of standard 1. But the second thing that you need to know is that all distinct teachers who earn the distinguished rating, no matter whether they're being still in the classroom, the distinguished rating means that these people are teacher leaders. Look at some of the verbs. Collaborates with teachers from other grades to establish links between disciplines and influences school-wide curriculum and teaching practice. That's a leader. Promotes global awareness, influencing curriculum and teaching practices throughout the school. Assists colleagues in applying such strategies in their classrooms. Encourages and assists teachers throughout the school. So one of the takeaways that we want you to have as you lead today is that you are leaders of teachers and we want to help strengthen that skill set. But we also want you to go back and help strengthen the teachers that you work with and to help strengthen their leadership capacity and show them where on the instrument that this shows up. All right, so we're going to talk next about the Teacher Leadership Specialist Standard. So I want to take a quick poll first of all. How many of you are familiar with these standards? Okay, awesome. Sort of, I see that. How many of you are currently evaluated by these standards? All right, awesome. How many of you use these to evaluate teacher leaders? How many of you never use these? I haven't heard of them before now. Okay, that's fine. That's great. All right, so this is part of your shared materials, and so on the website you can get to some of these next slides a little bit bigger. But I want to show you a couple of things. I just want to remind you, even if you are using these standards, or if these standards apply to you in your position, you may not have realized how closely they're tied to the actual the professional teaching standards. So in both sets of standards, leadership is the first standard. Equity, content knowledge, facilitating instruction, and reflection. Now, some of those are things that we've done today. in a nutshell, what it means is that leaders of teachers help teachers become better leaders in your own standard. In standard 2, which is equity, your role as a leader of teachers is to help teachers become more skilled at working with diverse learners. Standard 3, which is knowledge of content, and help teachers become stronger in their content knowledge. Standard 4, facilitating instruction, help teachers become stronger in their instructional practice. And in Standard 5, reflection, help teachers become more reflective in their practice. Now, it's important for you to know how what you do ties in to what practicing teachers do, because there's really a direct correlation. And if you see on this slide, you will notice that in the professional teaching standards, so teachers who currently have a roster of students, developing his knowledge, then action, interaction, and extension hits the proficient, accomplished, and distinguished role. But action is in the developing for the teacher leadership standards. Because just doing is great, that's great, but that's just the first step. Interaction is proficient, extension is accomplished, and then synthesis gets you to the distinguished mark. All right, so we're going to talk just a little bit about information about the strengths and values. Well, we didn't do the values this morning, but we did the strengths that you talked about this morning. You found your own strengths and how those strengths can support teacher leaders and leaders of teachers. You're going, in just a minute, I'm going to ask you to go to the website and look carefully with a different lens at the standards for teacher leaders. And I want you to think about the activities the activities that are supported by executing your strengths. So looking at the standards in a whole new way, looking at the verbs and the actions that go along with those standards, and thinking about the strengths that you've already found about yourself. Now, as you're thinking about that and thinking about what can I do to, in each of the standards, help teachers become better leaders, work with diverse learners, become stronger in their content knowledge, stronger in their instructional practice, and more reflected in their own practice. Think about goals for yourself. Focus first on the areas in which you have strengths. I know I'm good at this. I have this strength. I have a text that tells me how to use those strengths. How can I mirror and integrate the strengths from the Strengths Finder into my own actions that help teachers improve? So that's the first thing we're going to do. Now, we have a whole group of technology facilitators, and you guys have a different instrument that you are evaluated on. What I'd like for you guys to do is to pull up the Teacher Leadership Specialist Standard to see if you see commonality between that instrument and the instrument that you use. And then you can either choose to look at those standards, or you can look at your own standards to do the same activity. All right? So examples here. A strong influencer. So who in here have more than one area under influencer checked? How many of you had that? 2 people. All right. 3 people. All right, that's awesome. All right, so you guys, it says you might set goals to elicit support and expertise from the district and community, because you have the skill set to do that, right? You can influence what happens with other people. You might collaborate with other educators to influence the profession and leverage outside networks to enhance professional learning. People probably come to you to ask for you to ask other people to get something done, right? Yeah, you're laughing. Yeah, they come to you because they know that you have that skill set, that people listen to you, right? Because they're scared to do it because that's not in their skill set, or it's not their top strength anyway. All right? But a strong strategic learner or thinker might set goals to create systems that sustain evidence-based effective instruction, or to engage in curriculum design and long-range planning. So use your strengths to think about how you can influence and help teachers become better teachers in all of the standards that they are evaluated on. We're going to take a few minutes to do that, and then we're going to move to a bigger picture about how to influence schools and to be able to think about what's happening at a site that you work in. So the standards are, again, in the website. The website, I'm going to pull it back up. I'm just trying to find our yeah, you've got it, because you've got the, yeah, pull your website back up, this side. All right, and then in the top right-hand corner, you can find the standards for teacher leadership.
I'm going to ask permission.
Yes. It says you need permission. You need permission. Cindy is going to work on that right now. You guys were on the website this morning, right? And now it's not letting.
The website there.
Okay. Yeah. It's this.
Ours says ask request permission.
Yeah. Okay. Cindy's working on that right now.
Yeah. It's my first attempt to Google site, and some of the ways to build stuff. I'm still learning. Okay, we're out there.
Yeah. Okay, you can also Google rubric for evaluating North Carolina teacher leadership specialists or teacher leadership specialist standards. You can Google and you can find the link. Are you finding it a different way? Okay.
I had downloaded off the results.
Okay.
link she sent us. Is it you have your own number?
You got a website and look at it first now. The second one is
Here's the bill.
Strong in reducing that under relationship and everything. Place this person at your organization's initiative. I like how you're my weakness. You're not looking at weakness. You're not looking at weakness. I like to tell you. Is this something you need? Help this person define persons remembering their names. Because you need a lot of you get right in with that. Now, what else did you get? You got what else did you get?
I think we have the two documents on the website page. I think you'll be able to see them now.
Did you catch this? This person's strong in talents will bring over considering her new role as a her genuine strength. What does that say? And blew you right out of the water.
Okay, so what insights, and these are initial insights because we're not spending as long time as we really need to on this. But what insights do you have using your strengths and these teacher leadership specialist standards? What do you see? What ideas do you have? I heard you guys, this table, there's what, three of us are relators. So we look at our strengths, we realize to move forward, have the elements of collaboration, communication, so that's your relationship. And so, how can you use your strengths to help teachers increase their strengths. I was telling my group, when I leave at CNC, I feel like we're communicating, but I need to step back and then collaborate and start doing the work and me just being not a leader all the time. Get some of that out. So you do make a really, really good point, because sometimes our strengths are so much a part of us that, and we are in a leadership position, that it's hard sometimes for us to step back to let other people lead, right? And maybe it steps on our toes a little bit if we are already the leaders and we're leading teachers, and there's a teacher leader who wants to step up, and maybe that kind of encroaches on our own territory a little bit, right? So, Heather, that was a really great point. That was a really great point. Who else? What did you notice? I heard you talking about woo over here. What did you guys say?
We realized that one of our colleagues has the woo, and has the woo, and that she would be like the initiator, the front point for our organization, because it draws people in, welcomes them. She had some other skills that were very much entwined with that harmony and communication. So.
And that sounds like something that would be a great skill to have if you're working with brand new teachers, right? Who are right, just like Cindy talked about this morning about how stressed they are, and there's just everything they're learning, and they need to feel that support, but they also need instruction on how to improve. And it takes the right type of person to use the right skill set to make that happen, right? What about this table back here? What did you guys come up with? What did you think about? That's a young one. Okay. Okay. All right. So as you look at this rubric and you start really examining, do you remember when the professional teaching standards first came out? And it really took us a long time to understand what it meant to be accomplished, efficient, and distinguished, and what that really meant for us. So the same thing needs to happen with these special standards. Like, you really need to study them and look at what does it take to get to the next level with my own practice. And this is the document that needs to be used for your own growth, right? For your setting your own goals for what's happening in a year. All right. So go back to the next section. The next thing that we're going to talk about is influencing and changing and assessing a school's culture, a site's culture. Now, this one I think is really important because it starts getting to the heart of why you are here. We started the morning talking about and discovering who you are, and we are transforming into using who you are to make impactful change. So the next few slides and the next things that we want to use come from this text of School Culture Rewired. On your tables, you have a companion book, the next book in the series, that is called School Recharged. We are going to start with materials from this text to assess our own culture. Now, you are sitting, for the most part, in teams. And I'm going to give you an assignment in a minute, and it might be that teams that that your team decide to pick one school. If some of you are at one school, some of you are at several sites, and so it's really interesting to get feedback and insight from people who have different roles at the same site. So you will notice that there is both a handout icon and shared materials icon. So in the handouts that were provided to you, you're going to need some of them here in just a minute. All right, so the first thing that you're going to do in the next few minutes is you are going to pick a school and you're going to fill out a survey in order to determine the typology of your school. And we're going to talk about what the typologies are in a minute, but first we are going to actually take the survey. Now the first thing I want you to do is to get out the colored sheet of paper. It's yellow. All right. So the first one, everybody has to write. Okay. So the first one is an example, and I want you to see it. So I want you to understand how to fill it out. So for each row, you are going to first, before we get to each row, first you're going to pick a school in just a minute. All right, you're going to determine what school I'm thinking about or what side I'm thinking about. Then, for each row, you have 10 points to play with. 10 being, this happens all the time. 1 being, it doesn't happen, or 0 being, it never happens, or 1, it barely happens. Now, it's not a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Instead, it's the row needs to equal 10. And it might be that one component in the row is worth 10 points. It might be that 2 components, one's worth 5, one's worth 5. You might have a 4, and a 2. So if you look at the example, you'll see how that works. Okay? So for each row, you make an add to 10 points. Then, when you're done, you add the columns. Okay? And so you'll put a total at the bottom of each column. Now, for teams, if you are choosing the same school, then everybody that's working together works independently first. Then you get together and you add up your scores and make a master total. Okay? Does that make sense? So in a few minutes, after you've done this, then we're going to determine what the numbers mean. Now, I've given you the yellow sheet as an example, but then I've given you 2 white sheets that are exactly the same thing that are blank. I gave you 2 because one you can write on and if you mess up, you can use the other one, or if you'll have one to take back with you. Okay? All right, does that make sense? All right, so if, so I know in the middle here, you guys are one county, one district, but you serve in lots of different schools. You might want to talk together to decide what school that you might serve that you can do this together. Okay, but first do it separately and then you'll combine your schools. All right, any questions? All right, let's do that first.
If you say it one more time. I'm gonna make it.
Here's a decent idea.
But from different perspectives, because we sat here at different times under different leadership. Isn't that cool? So we're gonna come together and see. Okay. Everybody saw.
You're right.
So I experienced something similar.
Okay. I did too. That's what I thought. That's what I was. Yeah. So I was assigned to assess her child. So sad. Thank God. Did you do the homework teacher? The student. She did. CRC.
Yes, add them up, add them.
That is so counterproductive. I'm not just watching.
It's constant.
I think it infuriates me. Oh, my Bill's nose. That'd be pretty good. So now what, we give a grand total, give a master total? All right, I'll tell them.
We need to get it.
I'm gonna go around the columns. I'm gonna call out what she calls out, and I'm gonna add up.
Lucy, column one, column out. Yes. See? 32.
I gotta do that again, I'm sorry. What are we up to now? Let's do that again.
26.
You guys have gotten it. Four.
What's your theory? What's your, make a guess, guys. Column A. Second column.
Column B. Column B.
1 through 6.
Column C. 2 through 10. Column D.
83.
I need you to put
83. Column E.
yeah.
30. 51. I did think
Yeah, add them together.
but we don't average.
No, just add.
It makes sense.
If you really want to average, you can also average, but adding together is what the protocol.
Either way, it's fun.
Yeah, you're still going to probably get all the same message. They're not quite finished, but tell them to. Yeah. All right, we're going to spend 1 more minute finishing up. Then it's going to tell you what those columns mean.
You asked for it not to be changed. You asked just to have it out next year.
Okay, Yay. All right, thank you.
I think it's the kind of small relationship. There's it is so much good to be that relationship. This is she. This maybe.
I mean,
So I think there's a plan.
Great to have somebody, a former DPI in the room who knows how to whip these people into shape. All right. So let's talk about what your columns mean. Let's start with this slide. And these are your cultural typology results. Now, so column A, toxic, we're going to talk about what they mean. Column B, fragmented. And let's look at the pictures that go with it. In the fragmented, you see all of these individual silos. Who are all working at one side, but working individually. Balkanized, and what you see here are groups of people working together, but nobody's working for the good of the entire site. Contrived collegiality, where administration kind of forces people to work together, and they do, but somebody else is kind of pulling the puppet strings. We have comfortable collaboration. People like each other at this site. They talk to each other. It's fun. They sit around and you heard trick trading over here, meaning, here, I'll give you an idea for that. This worked for me a little bit. And then collaborative. And here, if you look at the icon that goes with that, all of the people have a piece to the puzzle. And each of those people are as equally as important, but they're all working towards a common goal. All right, on the next slide, what I want you to do is to pull up and look and read. First, I want you to read in depth and talk at your table about each of the different typologies. Read all of them, not just the one that you found the column added up to, okay? Because either you're one person or two people or three people. You may not have the entire picture, but you have your opinion of what you see, okay? So I want you to read all of them, and then we're going to come back and talk about what that means now that you know the culture of the site that you chose. So go to the website, pull this up, have a conversation about each of the cultures.
And then, like teachers view school like a place to get away from. How many good people do you have people there? While average and complacent teachers remain patient, very accurate on the pervasive sense of hopelessness.
Phony and become a so when they sing and she sings happy birthday
So really comfortable collaboration is not the best thing. Teaching
You're not digging deep. Different world. Yeah. And a prism. Yeah.
We have one district who is finishing up outside and is coming in. So I'm going to wait to get started because I think they'll just interrupt us as it comes. Just wait 1 second. There's some. We're just now ready to start, so no big deal. Okay, so what is your take on the accuracy of your survey? What?
I think it's.
Yes, it's very accurate.
We felt like our schools didn't fit into any one particular category, that they kind of, there were pieces of the school, pieces of the
Typology.
within the school, there were different typologies.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It does, especially because you were analyzing a high school, correct?
Actually, I was analyzing a.
Oh, an alternative school, okay. Well, you're not the only one. At this table, they kind of felt like they had a hyphenated typology.
Okay.
ours landed fragmented, organized, because the kids that are together function as groups, make them social, but then the ones that are on the list are criticized. So we landed smack in the middle of the city. Did anybody, well, I know one group did for sure. Did anyone find that the description what fit the site that they analyzed to a T? Like it was spot on. You guys thought so. Yeah. I think your words were scary accurate. Scary accurate. Okay. So how could you use this typology as a leader of teachers to make a positive change at a site? How could you use the survey that you provided today?
I guess for me, my initial response was in looking at the type of culture that I would want to have, looking at those descriptors, and I guess with other leaders in the building, discussing that and talking about how can we start doing these specific things? How can we start having more critical conversations with each other that, which is also supportive, but, will help us grow and stepping outside our comfort zone, whatever. Of course, I'm in place it's not really there, but this is an example. I think that is, something that I would do to utilize the tool.
Absolutely. But the first step is knowledge, right? Like just understanding, first of all, like really have your teachers or the people who work at your site, have they ever even thought about the culture of that site? Is that something that's ever really been examined? Now everybody has this informal idea of the culture of that school, but probably haven't really investigated it, gone deep into it, to think about where do we fall? Collectively, what is our culture? There was an interesting conversation over here where someone said that he was at a school that was toxic when he started. And when he left as an administrator, it had moved to contrived collegiality. But you can't go in 1 year from toxic to contrived collegiality. Right? That's impossible. That's a continuum, right? Like you might skip one step or skip like a step and a half, like you might get to that hyphenated stage, but you're not going to go from toxic to collaborative, right? You're not in 1 year with a couple of TV sessions. Like it's going to take time, and it's going to take understanding what it means, and then understanding what the next level is. He was happy that he had gotten to contrived collegiality because that step, although when you first look at it, it kind of feels false and it's kind of a roll your eyes kind of thing because we're only doing this because the administration told us that we needed to do it. But sometimes doing it because you have to leads to actually doing it because you want to, and then actually doing it because you're making a difference or changing things, right? So don't feel that level D there, that contrived collegiality is a bad thing. That's a step in the right direction, right? So, as leaders of teachers, some people give this survey out to the whole staff. Get it back and add it up and say, oh, where do we fall? And then talk to the staff. Here's where we are. Here's where we want to go. What are your ideas? How can we do that? Right? You're in a position to do that.
What if you shared it as a district with principals and let them look at their own schools? Wouldn't that be a conversation, Liz?
Absolutely. Isn't that a fantastic idea? Right. And then you're making big changes. Alicia?
I was going to say, I think, sometimes principals also have a different understanding of what's happening in their building. is where the problem is, I think, is their perception of what, I mean, I've been a principal for many years, and now I'm not a principal, but I do understand that this gap, this gap. So I think we asked the long ground.
Absolutely. That's right, and you compare it with the principal. Absolutely, that was a beautiful thing to say. And something that can really make an impact, because as a leader, if you think one thing, but in reality, all the people who are working at school think something else, which happens sometimes, right? Then, and what? It doesn't even matter if it's true or not, right? It matters if they believe it, right? And so if your school believes this, then we need some strategies to move to the next level. All right, so our next conversation here is, I want you to look at where, we're only going to take about 2 or 3 minutes, but look at where your school falls. And then look at the typology that's right next to it. See if you or your team can come up with some strategy. How could you move from here, one step up? And then we'll talk about that.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's solely, it's almost an ABC kind of
Yeah.
because that's where your heavy is weighted. And so then you need to almost look at the D. How do you get to D? Yes. How many times have we done this? That's a very stressful place to be. But right, superstar. You would need a superstar. Here, Christ himself would have a superstar.
So pretty much.
That's what it's going to take there.
Okay, I'm going to stop you in the middle of your awesome conversation, which is the time when you should stop somebody before it dies out and fizzles out. I know that you have some really good ideas. I was listening to this as I walked around. Our goal today is for you to leave with some tools to help you, as a leader of teachers, change your site, help change teachers, support teachers in positive growth. Hopefully, the survey that you just took is something that you can use. And I want to show you 2 more resources that we are not going to take the time to do today, but you have them on the website. So this is only a portion of it. This is the school culture survey. It's a little different. And you'll notice that you just kind of answer the questions. It goes down to 32, I think. Strongly disagree all the way to strongly agree. And then after you take the survey, you can see which questions or which items are associated with different constructs. So items 2, 7, 11, etc. are associated with collaborative leadership. 3815 or with teacher collaboration. This is on the website so that you can grab it. This is a second tool that you might use after you get the first one to see where do we fall specifically in these areas. We might be able to target an area that would help move our culture typology to the next level. Okay, so on your table, and we do know that every district got text, but not every single person got text. We also have the list here. So if there are not enough of the school culture recharged books on your desk, on your table, then please sign up here before you leave today so that we can make sure you get these for the next session. This school culture recharge has ideas to invigorate the culture at your school. So it's an easy to read text. I think you'll find some really good ideas in there. You can flip through. So take that back. Now, in our next few sessions, our third session, we're going to end with an action plan. Ways for you to think, not action plan as a bad thing, but an action plan for something that you can do that will be related to increasing capacity at your sites. So you'll bring this text back the next time that we have our next session, and in our third session, we'll use some strategies and talk about ways to work with adults, some adult learning theory, and things like that. So I'm going to, I don't think he knows this yet, but I'm going to hand the mic over to Dr. Uri now.
Woke me up.
And I hope you enjoyed that session. I hope that you found some positive materials that you can actually use at your site.
By the way, I didn't get my nap. Couple things. That's a lot of information there, I know. My take on it too, and listening to it and understanding, having been through some of it, and some of the conversation went on about the way the principal perceived versus the way this was cool at
You might just need a refresh to get your new slides out there.
I think you have to have trainings in your building. You have to have training across your system. Even though you're right, the conversation between the faculty and the leadership and perception of that is important. But if there's not a cultural understanding of value, I'm biased as to what that conversation ought to be about. I think it should follow this format that you had today, and it should follow an understanding of those. So that's my part. So I'll close this out, close the day out, close out the culture. Even though you might go back to these instruments and get some kind of measures, there has to be an established culture where there is continuous learning taking place across the parameters of building, multiple buildings, attendance areas, or full system. I don't know. I've worked in different systems where there is much power within the attendance area, like the whole West region, the whole North region, or something like that. Then there's power in other places by the whole system itself. And then there's places that are small enough that that certainly falls back to them. Now, there's some literature here that I'm a part of that we'd certainly be glad to share with you. That's a model for thinking about the culture and not just calling it a culture, but calling it a learning culture, meaning that culture, the overarching umbrella culture that you're talking about, it should be one that 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 organization is learning about itself. So we call it a learning culture and say that there is an individual learning culture. That means what each one of you feels and believes and has a philosophical underpinning of yourself. And there's a collective learning culture. Collective meaning grade level, school side, system side, however you want to divide that. We've done this, when I talked earlier about having spent some time with the local police department, this was our opening comment. We brought 30-some police officers together who had ranked positions, and I stood up in front of them and said, we're going to talk about leadership in a police department. And I was more anxious than they were about how that was going to go. My first comment was, I cannot help you be a better policeman. I do not know how to be a policeman. I can help you be a better individual, and by being a better individual, you will be a better policeman. Of course, they didn't believe that. I don't blame them for not believing that. But 9 to 12 months later, they're on my team. Because we spent time looking at how do you change the learning culture of the police department? How do you change the learning culture of a school? How do you change the learning culture of a school system? We prescribe to that there are 5 areas that you have to deal with in order to change that learning culture. Very simply, and probably first, you got to have a disposition. You got to want it. You got to believe in it. There has to be a desire to have a collaborative learning culture because of the value that it brings to the performance level of that organization. You have to have professional experiences. We don't say professional development because professional experiences happen all the time, every day, 24/7. We can do it in groups. We can do it as individuals. We can do it across the board. What can you do tomorrow to improve your learning? Today you've sat here, you've reflected, and hopefully there's something comes out of that. I started the first discussion with what I've learned today. I've learned there's even a stronger connection between this and building the capacity of the building. As leaders, what can I have people do that will change their level of understanding of themselves and what it takes to get their job done? You can call that a policeman or a teacher or a leadership. This fits everywhere. I've done this with churches. I've done it with policemen. I've done it with school groups. It's about individuals. What can you do? What can you have your people do that changes to what they believe in, what they value, and what they can get done? I'm a living example. In the early 80s, I was coaching 3 sports, athletic director, teaching a full load. My principal that I worked for volunteered us for an effective school movement, and he designated a certain number of people to handle 1 person per car of effective schools. He gave me a car. I went to him, I said, you have lost your mind. I do not have time to learn about this, teach the faculty, do the assessments at benchmark times, and give feedback to this faculty. Somebody else has to do this. And he said, you will do it. He was from the old school. He believed in shared decision making. He made the decision and he shared it. His philosophy of all the kids can learn, he said, you may not believe it, but you damn better act like it. We got the message. Now, I don't believe in that kind of management, but at the time it worked. What he did, from that day forward, I got interested in kids and what kids can learn and what adults did to impact the way kids learn. From there, I went back and got a master's, then I got a 6-year degree, and then I got a doctorate. If this man had not put me in that experience, I wouldn't be standing here today, and I don't know where you are. So I've asked him, he's 86 years old, just had his birthday, and I call him periodically because he did more for me than any one individual because of not only that experience, but multiple experiences. And I said, According to what I'm teaching people now, you change somebody's ability and capacity and what they are by what you make them do. Why did you do that to me? I want to confirm that I'm right. He's the same one told me that when I taught I was good, but when I didn't do it every day. And he said, you were stuck in a rut and you had more ability than what you were giving out. And I knew if I could get you to see something different, it would change you. I said, you're not supposed to be that smart. You're an old crusty leader who told it like it was. You're not supposed to understand me that way. But he did. Do you understand you, and do you understand the people that work you? Can you provide them with something to do? Now, if you go and say, I'm going to put you in this experience, it's going to change you, they'll fight it, they'll resist it, they won't do it. You have to do it in a way like that it works. It works because of the experience. It could be read a certain book. It could be lead a seminar session. The best way to do it, you read Jim Collins' Good to Great, you just sit with them and ask them a lot of questions to get them to think about themselves. When you talk to these people, you ask them about their job, their work, their successes, their models of success. Relationships are important, so you have to ask them about their spouses, their kids, and all that. I'm not saying ignore them. We spend too much time on trivia when we can spend time asking questions that cause people to think about themselves. When Jim Collins found great companies, he said they were managed by people who could ask the best questions, not by the most charismatic figures or the most intelligent leaders. It was those leaders who could ask the right question. How's your day going? What have you learned lately? What can you share with me? Can I share something with you? What can you do to get people to learn? Learning comes from experience. Everything else is only information. Thirdly, what structures can you put in place? These are our PLCs, our learning communities, whatever you call it. What can we do within this organization? This is not a printed schedule of PLC meetings. This kind of structure is one that drives itself. When you get the people that you're leading to go to other people and say, have you got time to talk with me? And I meet with you after school to talk about this. And you show me something that works in your classroom, I'm having trouble with a certain concept. That's a structure. You can create some structures, you can schedule some time, but an active structure that changes learning cultures is one when people are looking for their own times to get together. They're creating that opportunity to share and learn. Thirdly, shared decisions. This is site-based management. The misleading part of this is it's not just voting. I'm old enough to know when site-based decision making came in, the majority of us thought we was going to reach consensus on when to have lunch, when to have the prom, and when to do things. We misunderstood that that's only a small piece of shared decision making. Shared decision making is a part of the thinking that you believe you have some responsibility to make a difference. Shared responsibility to make a difference. Therefore, you're going to do the things, you're going to make decisions and make a difference because it needs to be done. It's important and you believe in it. Now, how do you change that culture? First, you have to start talking about it. We're going to look at another pyramid in just a minute. We'll talk about the words common language. What is the common language? You can't take this model and say, here's the way to change our culture unless you talk about these components and then continually talk about them and what it means and what difference it's made. And the last construct of that is reflecting. We have to get people to reflect on their performance and have to reflect on the organization's performance. If you change those 5 constructs, you will change the learning culture of that organization or the people you lead. How long does that take? Never ends. you have to start with a conversation about where we are. That's where these instruments you just looked at may help. The model says that you can measure all those 5 things. Actually, the book we've written on Rethink, Rebound, Rebuild, Rebound, it actually suggests some ways. I think it's better to decide your own. You can get an individual measure and a collective measure in those 5 domains, and then from that you make some decisions. What plans do we put in place to change individually and collectively? If I get measured and I'm low in assessment skills, then my growth plan deals with assessment skills for me, my reflective ability. The whole group, the whole school may need more reflective skill, so the growth plan reflects that. Actually, research, and that has a little academic tone to it, but what it means is let's try some things and see whether they work or not, and then share with each other the successes and the failures of those so that we can replicate them or do away with them. Actually, research means try it, take a risk, look at what happens, and then come back and decide if you want to keep doing it. And then what I've just been driving home is the empowerment and efficacy training. Empowerment is a mindset. We think it's an action. We think we empower people when they give them authority to do things. That's not empowerment. Empowerment is when each and every one of you does what needs to be done to the best of your ability because it needs to be done and you believe in it. That's empowerment. We're empowered when we act and fulfill our responsibility. If you can get the 50 people or 100 people that work for you or work under you to do things because it needs to be done, and it needs to be done the best it can be done, well, then we can do the coffee pot every day and just sit back and watch it flow. But we don't do that without talking about what true empowerment is and can we accept that responsibility. What does it mean to have confidence in what we do? Certainly there's some connection. My model says you can read, measure that at the end of the 3 green sections, and then you correlate that to student outcomes or teacher working conditions survey, or pick you something to correlate it to so you can see if there's some growth. Key point of that is this model is only as good as the conversations you have about it. Not from a mandate standpoint, but from a reflective conversation. Now try to put all this together. The bottom 3 pillars of this pyramid is languages, routines, and relationships. Until you have those in place, it is my contention that you can't move the culture. And the language is a common language. My common language of learning something about how things change was effective schools research and TESA research. Teacher expectations and student achievement. How adults talk and behave and what they expect from kids determines how much they learn. That's TESA. Effective school was when you have certain conditions in place, the school will overcome any problems that those kids bring to that school. That's the basis of effective schools. 1974, the Coleman Report said schools make no difference. Schools only perform based on the ability of the kids and the environment they come from. Larry Lazat, Ron Edmonds, and Brookover said that's not true. So they found schools that overcame those bad situations, those bad environments. And they put together a list of things that those schools did to overcome those environmental conditions. That's my common language. If you've had effective school training, you and I can sit and talk for hours and say the same words. That's not the magic. I'm not saying effective schools is the magic, but you've got to have a language. You've got to have a vocabulary about building a culture, and everyone has to understand that language. Routine simply means there must be expectation by the leaders that we have an expectation to develop a culture, we have an expectation for a certain level of performance. If we don't establish those expectations, we don't have the pillar that holds this culture together. Relationships is about trusting each other and being able to have critical conversations. I spoke at lunchtime about a system here that needs critical conversations, especially at certain grade levels. And until we can have enough trust to have those critical conversations, that we not have a chance of building culture. Now, if we get the 3 pillars in place, we now can put our pyramid together. Organizational capacity and continuous improvement is two philosophical beliefs. After you've established the language and the expectations and trust, if you don't believe in continually getting better, you don't believe in building capacity, you're stuck at that point. That determines what your culture is, as it is supported, and then we look at how to align that based on what we can continually do. Notice around the outside, what holds these rocks together? Our self-efficacy developmental needs. Goes back to the previous slide. Disposition, experiencing, learning, shared responsibility, reflection and assessment, 5 domains of the model. And then we added social cognitive theory. Social cognitive theory tells us when we see good practices, if we pay attention, if we understand, if we practice, and if we want it, we can be just as good as what we see. We got to watch it. We got to pay attention. You got to recognize it, understand it, and retain it. You got to practice and practice and practice, and you got to want to be like what you see. Then you can attain that. So that is the premise of a cultural developing, momentum establishing movement that takes not only a long time, but it requires some sustainability efforts along the way. You just don't throw that in and move on. You have to continually reinforce your language, your expectation, and your trusted relationships with that environment. This is not the roadmap, this is a roadmap. And as leaders, and in building other leaders, if you can fill in the content, it helps develop that. The instruments you just looked at a little bit ago gives you some data to help to see if this actually makes any difference. So if you don't have a common language now in your leadership position, you need one. What are your key words? I'm not saying you don't have it, I anticipate you do. And I've heard very encouraging conversations today, individually and in group. It impresses me and gives me confidence in the future, at least in the ones you represent. So that's great. But having that and articulating that is probably 2 different things. If I went to somebody that you work with, that you're responsible for, and I asked them what does this person believe in? I'm talking about you. Can they tell me what you believe in? They should be able to tell me what the common beliefs and common values are between you and them as well. And then the language is in place. If I went to them and said, what does this person expect from you on a daily basis? Can they tell me what your expectations are? If I ask them, do they trust you? Do they trust each other? What's the answer? And that's part of that cultural assessment. I've started a blog questionnaire, and I said, I've learned something today, and I want you to respond to that. If you disagree with it, you don't have to agree with what I said. I think I could learn from you. That experience will be good for me as well. But we hope that you want to start talking to each other a little bit and create this network that allows you to learn something, continuously learn something. Certainly be glad to share a copy of the text, Rethink, Rebuild, Refound. If you don't have one, some of you have had to have it. There's some in-depth explanation of some of this as well, so just let it know, and we'll certainly make those arrangements for you too. Thank you. Back to Dr. Brown to finish this up.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about transitioning into action and what's coming next. as a reminder, Dr. Uri kind of gave us a little preview at the beginning, but we do have some things incentives in place if, as a result of working today, you think, oh, I'd like to be a part of maybe some graduate studies programs that focus on teacher leadership or other forms of leadership. So if that's something that you're interested in, as a reminder, you can sign up here. There's also a sign-up sheet as a reminder for missing tchotchkes, missing swag things. So don't forget to do that. One of the things I'd like to remind you about on our site are, one thing is our next session. If you don't have our next session on your calendars, please make sure you do that right now. Our next session is July 19th. And we have presenters coming from Teachers College at Columbia University in New York to present information to you and engage in simulations related to intercultural competencies and thinking about your school culture and how it is that we respond and work within a diverse school culture, both students, community, our teachers, leaders, and how we can build our competencies to work with each other better. They've got really engaging simulations to put you in, like you get to have a it's almost like a choose your own adventure kind of thing that uses content that's presented. So it's July 19th here. That is our second session. Our third session, the goal for that session is really to either capitalize on and support you in action planning that you may start after today based on some of the strategies and information. I know I've heard some sites already talking about plans for implementation. So our third session is really about how we use the information to actually do something with it. And Dr. Uri has a vision of ongoing support based on what it is that you're wanting and needing, that we can support you throughout the school year to work on transforming your school cultures. So right now, session 3 has a placeholder. There is a resource I wanted to show you there, which is this Improve site. And it's another, I guess, shameless plug, but also proud moment. So in session 3, there's a link right there to the Improve site. This site is populated with virtual professional learning modules that are free for anyone to use, can be used by individuals or in professional learning communities. It stands for Instructional Modules for Professional Learning, Responding to Opportunities and Valuing Educators. What this site has on it are professional learning virtual modules that were collaboratively authored by doctoral candidates in the EDD and Curriculum and Instruction program in their final semester of coursework. And what these groups of candidates did was they looked at needs assessments that they had been working through in their coursework to identify a specific professional learning need that could be impacted through some virtual professional learning. It's gone through multiple peer reviews and work, so the best of the best are on this site. And you can see there are,
Stop home.
there are ones on academic vocabulary, active learning, differentiated instruction, UBD framework, mentoring, action research, professional learning communities, equitable classrooms, effective feedback, collaborative teams. And when you go to one of the modules, it gives you a challenge that you can then give initial thoughts. It has perspectives and resources and assessment. So teams of teachers can work through these. It may be that you see specific professional learning needs that you could fulfill through using the site. And it's really neat. Oh, look, somebody from Boiling Springs is looking at it right now. That was me. But look, here's somebody from Malaysia and someone from Denver, Colorado. So people from all over the world are using this site and finding professional learning from it. So just another tool for your toolbox. Okay, so we haven't determined a date yet for session 3. We're thinking August or September. We'll work on getting a Google form together to see what works for you. We'd like to do it at the beginning of the school year so that you have some time to implement strategies, but we don't want to overwhelm you at the beginning of the school year when you've already got a whole lot of other stuff you're implementing at the same time. So we'll work with you to identify a date that works. In terms of takeaways on your home, let's see. I have tried to, I've tried to put all of you into this group. Jennifer has a different Google password, but there's a discussion board, which you can, if you're not already a member of the group, you can just send me a thing to apply to join, and Jennifer, you can probably make me a member. But there's a discussion board here where Dr. Uri has posted something that he's thought about and reflecting on. I've posted something. If you can access this now, it would be great for you to post a takeaway. If you can't, then it would be great for you to post a tweet from today, maybe something that you learned or something that you're going to try, remembering that our hashtag is GWU Teach Lead. If you're having any kind of technical difficulties, it's okay, we're used to that, right? But you may not want to be like trying to figure out technical difficulties right now at the end of the day. But you can contact any of us. I've put our contact information below. Again, this is on the home page. So if you wanted to follow up, if you want to say, hey, put my name on that list, or if you want to say, hey, we want you to come out to our county next year, then you have our contact information. What am I forgetting to say, my friends?
Yeah, and thank you. Like the conversations we've heard is pretty empowering, I think.
Yeah, we'll talk more about working with adult learners, but certainly our goal for you today is to feel like you're walking away with something to do. And I hope that you have car buddies to process with on your drive home, to start thinking about things you might want to try. One of the things I put on the discussion board is, if you haven't looked on that Gallup Center, there are specific insight and action planning guides on that resource that gives you, here's some ideas for someone who otherwise, if you'll post a reflection or post a tweet, and be careful on your drives home, and come back on July 19th. We'll be in touch. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, the cards. I'm sorry. The value cards were an activity that we were going to do today, and we didn't get to them. If you will please leave them on the table, we will give them to you again on